Welcome everyone to the Gary Neville podcast on a Monday night at Old Trafford, where Manchester United have been beaten by Newcastle United, with whom, Gary, I think you'd agree it's right to start.
Yeah.
What a performance from them and what a roll the Magpies are on.
Yeah, very good. Last few games they've been good. They've got a big month coming up, big month for the football club and for Eddie Howe and the players in respect of the Carabao Cup semi-finals and getting up to fifth in the league and on the brink of Champions League football again. It's all there, up for grabs this season in this sort of weird season without Manchester City firing all cylinders. It feels like everyone's got a chance. So, yeah, brilliant for them. The first half an hour they were devastating and played really good football. They got a grip in midfield. We'll talk about Manchester United's midfield in a bit, but Tonali, Guimaraes and Joe Linton were brilliant in there. They just popped it around, combined, and then once they got it into good wide areas, particularly on this left-hand side, they just put a couple of delicious crosses in. The first one that Isak scored, he was helped obviously by a slight deflection, Lewis Hall, but they were good deliveries into the box, and they could have had many more. I mean, it was an obliteration of Manchester United in that first half, and he would have been probably disappointed a little bit at half-time, Eddie Howe, that Manchester United don't go in 3 and 4-0 down and he's not 3 and 4-0 up, thinking that it might just come at them in the second half. But yeah, very good night for them. Those Newcastle fans that are singing behind us in that far corner, they've had some miserable trips to Old Trafford for many, many years in the Premier League, and they deserve it tonight, and they'll have a good night home, back up the way with 2 or 3 hours on the bus, car, train, whatever it is they're getting, and they can have a smile and a good drink.
Just finally on them, before we move on to Manchester United, is there a centre forward in the country at the moment you'd rather have than Alexander Isak?
No, I mean, to be fair, you sometimes watch teams a lot live, and then sometimes obviously you see them on television, but when you watch a player, particularly this is a great vantage point at Old Trafford, some of the gantries obviously a little bit further away, but this one you're right on top of everything and you can see everything in sort of big picture, and you see Isak's movement, you see the quality of his play. He's absolutely fantastic and he's improving all the time. We know he can score goals, we know he can run, but also his hold-up play and his link with others, I think, has got better and better the more he's been at Newcastle. And I think as we threw back to the studio, Dave Jones asked Jamie Carragher whether he thought he was the best striker in the country at this moment in time. Sorry, in the Premier League at this moment in time. I think he is. Purely because you watch Erling Haaland a lot, and he's a world-class striker, but his general play is nothing like Isak's at this moment in time. He's well off it, and City are off it as well. So no, I think Isak is absolutely wonderful. He really, to be fair, he almost felt like he could do what he wanted at times in that game. He was annoyed with himself for that chance he had in the first half, where he obviously, I thought he should just fired it across into the far corner, but he tries a little dink over Anana just stood up. So yeah, no, it was a really good night for him. Gave him man of the match. It was a brilliant performance, and he's had a devastating December.
So Manchester United, I want to try not to be reactionary, because we keep trotting out this line that, the darkest hours before the dawn, that it's going to take time and they might go backwards before they go forwards again. But as we said last time we spoke, they have to keep playing matches week after week, and if they're losing matches, it feels greyer and greyer. So how are you feeling now? I mean, what's next?
No, I mean, I think you used the word at the end of the game. It's grim. It is grim. It really is. I thought they would lose this morning when I woke up. When I woke up, went for a walk, went to the gym, and you walk into the gym thinking, right, okay, what's it going to be like tonight? It's the day of a game. You look forward to a game at Old Trafford. I always look forward to a game at Old Trafford. It's it's my club, and you walk across that forecourt and you have hope. But I woke up this morning thinking I didn't think they would win. I think Newcastle are a better team, got better players, more experienced manager in the Premier League at this moment in time as well. And then when I got to the ground and saw the teams, I was pretty certain that Manchester United wouldn't win. And I don't always think, you don't always think like that, and I'm not a great at predictions, you'll know that. But I was really clear when I saw that midfield of Casemiro and Eriksen and the back three of De Ligt, Martinez and Maguire, the two wing-backs being defensive wing-backs, Zirkzee in that left pocket. And I asked Ruben Amorim in my interview before the game, is he playing in that left pocket, thinking that he might play two up top and play Ahmad floating of some kind. I thought, is it a slight different change? Maybe that'll work, having two up top. And he said, no, he's playing in that left. I thought, there's no balance there. We know there's no attacking threat going forward from the wing-backs, and that's not their fault. That's their full-backs. Their full-backs playing wing-back. I was put there once or twice Peter, that is a bloody hard position to play, wing back, if you're a full back. I know it might seem like it's only a little bit further up the pitch. The energy system's different. You've got to have so much quality on the ball in the final third. You're expected to be a winger when you're attacking, and you're expecting to be a full back when you're defending, and these are just full backs. So it's not something, you knew that wasn't going to work. Midfield, Casemiro and Eriksen is never going to work. I said in the first half, I mean, it's been said, they can't be playing together in a Premier League match against Joe Linton, Guimaraes and Tonali. They just can't be. You cannot play them two. And, you know, Ruben Amorim should have known that, I think. You know, we're obviously, he's only new in the job and he's getting to know his players, but he changed it after 25 minutes where he moved Eriksen up one to Zirkzee's position. We'll come back to Zirkzee in a minute, and he put Mainu on. I mean, Mainu's not in the best form at this moment in time, let's be clear. None of them are. But you can't play Casemiro and Eriksen in midfield against that three. And they just got obliterated in that first half an hour. It was embarrassing. It really was. It was as bad as it gets. Honestly, it was really, really bad. It was a low point, and it improved obviously when Mainu came on and there was a bit more legs in there. And it's not the fault of Casemiro or Eriksen either. I said at one point in the first half that the last person that Casemiro would have wanted to see next to him was Eriksen, and the last person that Eriksen would have wanted to see next to him was Casemiro. And I'm saying that politely. They probably would have looked at each other and thought, you know, I wish I had someone a bit quicker alongside me, and vice versa. That's how it is. When you play two slow old centre-backs together, you know, Steve Bruce always wanted Gary Pallister. You know, Nemanja Vidic always wanted Rio Ferdinand, and vice versa, because, you know, one of them's a bulldog in the air, and you want that sort of yin and yang, and they just don't fit with each other, Casemiro and Eriksen. So when I saw the team, I just thought there's no chance that that team can play football well together. It's impossible, really. Because you relied upon Ahmad, who's the only person really in the position that he belongs, that you would think that can actually create anything or do anything. So, and he struggled in the first half as well because he had nothing around him. So, I thought it was the team selection I thought was wrong. I did, and that's not me sticking the knife into any man. I just thought it was wrong. You can't play that back three with that midfield two. It's got no legs. There's a stat before the game. Manchester United, every time they've played Mazraoui and Dalot as wing-backs, have not scored a goal. They've not scored a goal in open play, Manchester United, with Mazraoui and Dalot at wing-back. So Ahmad or Anthony have had to be at right wing-back for Manchester United to score a goal in open play. And I asked Ruben Amorim that before the game, because it was something that was, you know, this morning we discussed. You know, the producer, they look at all these stats, and you look at it, and Jamie Carragher did it in the studio before the game. But we've all seen in the last few weeks, Dalot in particular received the ball high on that left-hand side. Willing, he's there, you know, fair dues to him, but he's either having to turn back and recycle it with his right foot, which just becomes predictable, and the other team are thinking, well, he's not going to hurt us, or he's trying an awkward little dribble or a little play, and it just looks a little bit rigid and it looks a bit stiff. So, yeah, I think we got what we expected. I don't think there's any Manchester United fan that saw that team, that's been watching the team in the last few weeks, that thought anything other than we would get what we deserved. And we got exactly what we deserved. In fact, to be fair, we got off lightly, because it honestly could have been 3 or 4. It was grim. It was a poor first half.
So what happens between now and Anfield on Sunday?
Honestly, Peter, yeah, I mean, we've got. Do we have to go to Anfield on Sunday? Do you remember in the olden days?
You could pull a sickie if you want.
Do you remember the olden days in Sunday League when sometimes the team didn't turn up, like they just said the traffic was bad, or 3 or 4 players? No, I mean, obviously, joking aside, not that was much of a joke. I have no idea how they approach this game on Sunday. Manchester United have gone there many times in the last few years, and it's been tough, very tough. The 7-0, I was there, watching it right to the bitter end, as many Manchester United fans were, and you're not fearing necessarily of that, but you're just wondering, what can Ruben Amorim do in this next few days? That, I mean, obviously the only thing he can do is point towards Manchester City. I don't know. I genuinely don't know. I mean, obviously players will come back maybe, and things will improve maybe. You know, I'm not going to harp on about Garnacho and Rashford because they've not been showing the attitude in training. Then, yeah, don't bring them back in. But they are better than what we're seeing out there on the pitch. They've got legs. They would probably, you know, if Andy Robertson and Trent Alexander-Arnold are thinking about lining up against Zirkzee or Bruno, as an example, in those pockets, or Eriksen, who's played in there tonight, Ahmad not so much, but they probably wouldn't want to play against Garnacho and Rashford. And that's the reality of it, unfortunately. We can, you know, you agree with me. Who do they not want to play against? And that'll be difficult for Amorim because he wants to set a new culture and a new standard and a new expectation in the dressing room of what's right. And obviously he's not liked some of the things that he's seen in the last month or so. But we're back there again, aren't we? At this moment in time, needs must. It's desperate at this moment in time. Manchester United are only 5 or 6 points off relegation. And they play Liverpool, then Arsenal away. So, look, it's a really tough moment, this. He's a young manager come over that, you know, is obviously needs to be given time to bed in and settle in. But when results are this bad, it just piles on the pressure. And Anfield's the worst place to go. It's an unforgiving place at the best of times. And the form they're in is out of this world. So, yeah, I've some fear at this moment in time for Sunday, but it's a few days away. We can maybe enjoy the new year and then see what happens.
Yeah. You've got to go on the telly in a minute, and we've got to rattle through the title race as well. But you did mention Zirkzee, and for me, purely,
that was awful.
Well, as a human being, I'm totally non-partisan.
It was awful.
That was a painful moment.
Yeah,
wasn't
it was awful.
horrible.
Yeah. I mean, look, I'm in that sort of. When I played here at the club, I was in that sort of mood of all's fair in love and war. I used to get slagged off at away grounds. I used to get booed, sung my name against, and other players did as well. So you know what comes when you play for Manchester United. You get scrutinised more than any other player at any other club. But I think he almost got cheered off. Almost. Mainu cheered on. I suppose you could argue which was it. But he was certainly sort of, when he gave the ball away in the first 25, 30 minutes, there were sort of significant groans. He's not settled in well. But then when he came off, it was brutal. To be subbed after 25, 30 minutes, that's tough. And like you said, the reaction of the crowd made it even tougher. And they're well within their rights to react that way. But then he walked off, seemed to storm off, didn't he, down the tunnel. And I just wonder whether someone's told him to get back in. But there is a human being in there that's got family and brothers, sisters, parents, grandparents, and I've been there myself where they take it really hard, and he'll be suffering tonight. So yeah, I felt for him. It was a brutal, clinical moment. I've not seen many moments like that at Old Trafford. I said that on the commentary in the 44 years that I've been coming here, where a player's almost come off. It was like he was being mocked in some ways, but that's where we're currently at. And this crowd a lot of them have seen fantastic football for many, many years, and some of them have seen the last 10 years, which has been more of a struggle. This is as low as it gets, because when Dave and Cara were doing a cross with me into the studio tonight, you get one of these, this team sheet comes through, and I looked at it, and I was watching Eddie Howe's interview in the tunnel area, and I was speaking to one of his staff, and I thought, how many of your players would you swap for Manchester United's players? And that's the biggest concern. There have been times in this last 10 years when Manchester United have had the likes of Lukaku out on the pitch and Pogba and players, Di Maria, and you think, some talent in there, and it's been frustrating watching them not perform. But I'm looking at these players here now, and I'm not sure that it seems that every team I watch, I'm not sure I'd swap many of the red shirts for the opposition shirt, and that's the big worry. And I actually looked the other day at the Ole Gunnar Solskjaer last team. I got it on my phone actually. I thought, what was the team when Ole finished here a few years ago against Watford? What was the team in his last game? And I sent it through to our producer, thinking about sort of, that team wasn't good enough. I mean, the manager got sacked. It was
Ronaldo was in that team. Maguire was sent off that day.
I can remember it. I think it was Wan-Bissaka, Shaw, Lindelof and Maguire, which is a better back line than the one that's out there now. It was Matic and McTominay, which is a far better midfield than Casemiro and Eriksen. And up front was Sancho, Rashford, Bruno and Cristiano, which is again far better than the players that are out there. Then you had De Gea in net. Now that team was widely regarded as being nowhere near good enough for Manchester United, and rightly so. But that team, that last game of Ole, is far better than the team that we're watching here. And that's me I'm not being emotional here, I'm just telling you as it is. Everyone, and that's the concern. Then there's been another 450, 500 million spent since that period. So we're now in a situation whereby, and if you go back to the Mourinho last game, you might even find a better team again. So what we thought maybe were the worst moments in the last 7 or 8 years, they're gradually getting. We're actually not hit the low point yet, and you hope that moments like tonight are the low point. But like I say, that team that's played out there tonight, that won't win a lot of football matches. That it won't. It generally won't in this league. You know, we watch all the teams. They've got high energy. They're compact. They're well organised. They're good at set pieces. They've got a manager that's with them. You know, and obviously this manager's brand new, and they're hard to beat that when you've got that spirit and that defiance between a group of players and that sort of quality. And there's no doubt that Newcastle tonight knew there were better players on the pitch, so that's a really stark position to be in. And Manchester United spent 1.5 billion in the last 10 years, and they spent 500 million in the last 3 years. And and I'm not rewriting history, because I actually was excited by the signings in the summer. What's happened? No one was saying in the summer that these signings that have come in will make Manchester United worse. They were thinking, hang on a minute, Manchester United have got their business done, they've got it done early, the players look like they're a sort of step up. It's just not proven to be the case. And I'm really worried, actually. I think it's worrying where Manchester United are currently at.
Okay, quickly the title race and the relevant games. Arsenal to play on New Year's Day. But congratulations Ipswich, by the way, on their first home win. They've beaten Chelsea, which is pertinent, and Liverpool were awesome yesterday.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't think Chelsea would win the league, but I'm surprised they've lost these last two matches. I think they would be two that they would win. So that, you know, doesn't necessarily make me think anything different, but I think it's quite clear Arsenal are the only team now that could stop Liverpool. I did the Leicester Man City game yesterday, so I was actually travelling back and watching on my iPad the Liverpool game, and was in and out, thankfully. No, but I watched, I saw all the goals, and I saw the first 30, 35 minutes quite well, because I was in stationary traffic. And they don't have to be playing well. I said it a couple of weeks ago. They can adapt in games. They don't have to be playing well in games, but they've got a real devastating clinical sort of front line and ability to be able to. I mean, Salah's unbelievable, by the way. I mean, that little shuffle through the legs. Oh my! I mean, that was a joke. That I think I switched off at that point. Was that the early one? Was that first goal? Yeah. No, I didn't switch off. I switched off at the third. No, it was. No, they were absolutely brilliant. I've always liked Diaz. Diaz is fantastic. The improvement in Gakpo is enormous. Really is. And Salah's just world class. He's the best player in the league. And they've just got everything going for them at this moment in time. Confidence, they're growing week by week. The manager has done an absolutely brilliant job. And it pains me to say it, but they are massive favourites now. I mean, Arsenal are the only team that will stop them. And I named Arsenal as the team that would win it at the start of the season, so I'm not going to change. I'll stick with it. But they've got a massive, massive, massive chance now. And it would be one of the great managerial performances, I think, to come in. No one knew that City were going to drop off. Everyone, including me, I mean, most people thought that Liverpool would have some pain this season, getting over the Jurgen Klopp sort of era. And, you know, to be where they are is quite remarkable, and a great first half to the season. So, yeah, I mean, Liverpool are there to be taken. Not there to be taken. They're going to be difficult to beat. In fact, the very opposite of what I've just said. And, I mean, they'll enjoy that game against Manchester United on Sunday. You look at Salah, you look at Diaz, you look at Nunez, you look at Jota, you look at Gakpo. They all look like they absolutely are going to rip it up every time they play. And they all look like the worrying thing for me, and it's something that when we were at our best here, they're all happy for each other. You know, when each other score, you see that little smile between them and that little sort of connection, and you think that's when you really know you've got that tightness and that sort of willingness to want to do well as a team. You know, everybody wants to do well individually, but when you see your teammates score and you're equally as happy as you were when you score yourself, there's a little bit of that going on now with Liverpool, and there's a spirit building. And the biggest risk for Liverpool is just Van Dijk. And Van Dijk staying fit. If he stays fit, then, you know, massive chance of winning the Premier League title. And
Chelsea's blip, does it surprise you? Or did the fact that they were there in the first place, as it were, slightly surprise you?
I mean, ultimately being there surprises me where they are. So I think they've done brilliantly well. I think Maresca's done a great job. It's just these two matches I didn't expect them to lose. It's the actual two matches they've lost. Some of the other games they've lost, like Liverpool and City, you know, you would expect them to potentially lose those games. But to lose the two games they've lost in this short period, I think, it'll just upset them a little bit. And they need to just get back on track.
They will indeed. You've got to get on the telly very quickly.
I have. I've got to talk about Manchester United.
Oh, yes, so you have. Thanks, Gary.
Thank you. Bye.